The X7 is the biggest vehicle BMW makes, and for 2023, it's got a host of updates, including a new face. For better or worse. What's up, folks? I'm Dave Undercoffler, editor-in-chief of Autolist.com, a sister company to CarGurus. The X7 is BMW's full-size, three-row luxury crossover, and it's been around since 2019. Not content to rest on its laurels, BMW gave it a refresh for 2023. That includes this new face, a new powertrain that's more powerful and more efficient, and a host of tech upgrades inside. But is that enough to beat rivals from Mercedes-Benz, Lexus, Lincoln, and Cadillac? Let's go find out. But before we do, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. All right, let's take a look at the exterior of this new X7, and as you've probably noticed, it's the front where you're gonna see the biggest change. This is a new design that basically splits up the headlights. So you've got your daytime running lights and your blinkers up here, and then your headlights down here. And this split look is something BMW is using on its higher end models. So you're gonna see it here, and you'll see it on the 7 Series sedan. And frankly, I'm glad they're kind of limiting it to these vehicles and not trickling it down to the lower end models, because I'm not sure I like it as much as the rest of the BMW lineup. Be that as it may, you actually have some interesting details that BMW worked into this new design. You've got a front end vent here that is actually functional. The air passes through that and then out over the front tire. You've got brushed metal accents here and along the grille. You can get this grille illuminated as an option on this base model. Higher end models, that'll come standard. And then down below, you have some sensors for the active safety features. But what do you guys think? Do you like this new look, or do you prefer the original look on the X7 that's been around since 2019? Let us know in the comments below. Another thing I want to point out is that down below, you've got this polished metal accent piece that runs along the length of the X7. That's all well and good, except up here along the window and then on the roof rails, you've got brushed metal. So it's a bit of a disconnect, but whatever, I'm not a designer. And then at the back of the X7, really not much has changed. It's a very clean look overall. I like that. If you do look up close, these taillights have a bit of a 3D LED look to them, so that's kind of cool. And one last thing to note is that while most SUVs, the tailgate is one piece, this one still remains split. All right, now to powertrains, and this is probably my favorite upgrade that BMW made to the X7 for the 2023 model year. This is the base model, so it's the xDrive 40i, which means it has an inline turbocharged 6-cylinder engine paired with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. It now makes a total of 375 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque. That's a bump of 40 horsepower and 52 pound-feet of torque over the earlier X7, so that's really nice. Even better, it's more efficient. Thanks to that mild hybrid system, it now is rated at 22 miles per gallon overall. That's up 1 mile per gallon over the earlier X7. So overall, you get 21 miles per gallon in the city, 25 on the freeway, and 22 overall. All X7s are going to be paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission and full-time all-wheel drive. So what do you guys think? Is 375 horsepower enough for a vehicle this big? Let us know in the comments below. Because if it's not, BMW also offers the M60i. That's a twin turbocharged 4.4 liter V8 with 523 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. It too has a 48-volt mild hybrid system with auto start stop and M Sport exhaust. And then on top of that, there's the Alpina XB7 version of the X7. That also has a twin turbo 4.4 liter V8, but in that case, it makes 631 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. All right, now to the interior, and this is another area where BMW gave the X7 a pretty thorough makeover. The biggest thing you're going to notice is this curved display here. This is a 12.3-inch screen for the instrument panel and then a 14.9-inch screen that's a touchscreen for the infotainment system. And I like the way that it's set up. I like the display. It's very futuristic and forward-looking. That's pretty cool. I will say there are some things that I don't like, and mainly it's the menus and display for the instrument panel. They just get a little wonky, a little hard to navigate sometimes. So that's been frustrating as we've been driving this car. But overall, this infotainment screen has been pretty good. What I like is that it is a touchscreen up here, and then you have redundant controls, physical buttons down below. So however you like to use the screen, you can do that. That's pretty nice. It has wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. I'll show you CarPlay right here. Takes up the full screen. Very responsive screen, nice and easy to use, very bright and crisp. There's also a voice-activated personal assistant, and on paper, it should be pretty easy to use. You just hit a button on the steering wheel and issue any number of commands, from turning on the heated seats or turning on the heated steering wheel, things like that. I've been using it for the past week, and that's why I said on paper it should be easy to use, because the reality is pretty different. Every time I hit a button and tell it to do something, it asks me to repeat myself multiple times. I end up just getting pretty frustrated and using just the screen functions or the buttons down below, so just something to consider. Another thing that gets a little frustrating about this screen is the climate functions. Now, as you can see down below, you've got the temperature controls for both the driver and the passenger here. They're always here displayed, no matter what else you have on that screen. So that's a nice touch. But to get to the actual fan speed or anything else you want to do for the climate, you got to hit this climate menu, and then this whole screen pops up. It's kind of an elaborate, complicated screen. You've got the heated steering wheel functions there. It's just annoying that if I want to hit the fan speed, I've got to go through all these menus rather than just having a button very easily accessible down below. So that's just frustrating. I wish BMW and any other manufacturer that does this just had easily accessible buttons for those features. Another thing to note is not everything that you see here is standard. The X7 that we're testing starts at $78,000, including destination, for the 6-cylinder engine. The one we're testing has a total sticker price of about $97,000. So part of what you get for that big upcharge is the $4,000 executive package. Included in that are these massaging heated and cooled seats. That's a nice touch. It also adds glass controls for the shifter here and for the infotainment knob. We've seen that in other BMW models that we've tested before. You also get goodies like a 464-watt 16-speaker Harman Kardon audio system. It's a great sounding system. In here, you've got heated and cooled cup holders. It's a nice little touch, and soft closing doors. In terms of connectivity, you've got a standard USB port right here. You've got a wireless smartphone charging pad in front of the cup holders, and then a USB-C charge port in the center console here. Overall, there are some things to like about the interior and some things I don't like. In general, it is a very comfortable, very luxurious, very high quality feeling place. There's nothing that feels cheap or where they cut any corners, so that's nice. Definitely what you would expect on a vehicle that's cost $97,000 like this one. You've got a stitched dashboard. The seats are very comfortable, very supple. You also have a really nice suede headliner, so all of those things do add up. You've got some weird shapes both in the vents here and this sort of translucent panel, and then above the vents over on that side and by the driver. Just a little weird, doesn't quite give you the harmonious look you might expect in a luxury SUV like this one. All right, now to the second row, and as you would expect in a $100,000 luxury SUV, this is a very comfortable place to be. I've got the seat set where I would have it. I'm 6'1", so basically I'm sitting behind myself, and as you can see, plenty of room for my feet, my legs, my knees, my toes, and then headroom. You would expect that again on a vehicle this large. Nice features to have back here include power seats, move forward and aft, they also recline. I've got power sunshades, and I can control them on either side from both this door or that passenger door as well. That's pretty cool. Down here, I've got my own climate control functions, including the buttons for the heated seats back here. That's nice to have. And then you've got a storage space, and even further down below, you've got a pair of USB-C charge ports. If that's not enough, each of these seats has another USB-C charge port built into the back. A couple more features that make life enjoyable in these rear seats. You've got a standard panoramic moonroof that comes in all X7 models. That's nice to have. You've got a really nice armrest here with some cup holders, a little extra storage space. And then down below, the center floor right here is almost flat, so you can put taller people in this middle seat, and it's not the penalty box it might be in other models. Now, because this is a luxury 3-row crossover, of course these seats are power operated, which actually is really frustrating. This is one case where they're just overthinking it, right? Let me show you how slow this is to get to the rear seats. I've already hit the button, right? So now the driver's seat is moving out of the way. This is gonna slide out of the way. Imagine you have kids right now, they're trying to get in the car, everyone's waiting, we're still waiting, still waiting. That's a really slow seat. And now you can get in. The access is good once it finally gets there, but man, I really just wish there was pull straps. These are pull straps, but these are really more for an emergency. You've got one here for the back seat passengers and one here for the side. But overall, again, just give me a pull strap where these seats move out of the way very quickly and the kids can get in the back. Once you finally get back here and the seats slowly adjust back to their original position, you do have some good space back here. I've got the middle seat adjusted to where I had it. Again, I'm 6'1", so I'm sitting behind myself, and I could ride back here for a good amount of time. I've got plenty of room for my feet and my knees. My head does hit a little bit, but overall, it's not that bad. Another nice thing is that you've got another glass panel up here, really sort of opening up the cabin. That's helpful. And again, I've got my own climate controls even in this third row. That's again a really nice feature to have where you're not getting too hot or too cold just based on what the people are doing in front of you. Another thing that's annoying about these third row seats is that there's no way for me to adjust where this middle row is. So if I need more space, it's dependent on the person in front of me moving the seat for me. I wish BMW had just built in a button or a lever or any way to adjust where this seat is. At the back, the X7 offers 12.8 cubic feet of space behind this third row of seats when they are folded all the way up. If you do fold those down, you have just under 49 cubic feet of space behind the second row of seats. Now that puts the X7 on the smaller side when it comes to interior space of luxury three-row crossovers. A couple of other things to note. Again, this is a split tailgate, so it opens about 2/3 of the way up, and then the bottom third opens down. That's kind of nice, actually, because it gives you a little platform to sit on in case you're tailgating or doing anything like that. In the back, you do have these power buttons to fold all the seats, and what I like is that there's a one-touch button that you can hit, and all the seats will fold up, or a button you'll hit, and all the seats will fold down, so you don't have to be hitting multiple buttons at the same time. All right, driving impressions. Now, because this is a BMW, you probably expect it to handle well and have really good dynamics, and the good news is it does. The key thing to note is that this refreshed X7 has a standard air suspension, and it's been retuned and recalibrated, and I really like what BMW has done for that retuning. That's because in comfort mode, both in this version and the earlier version, it does feel like you lean a little bit too much, the vehicle feels a little ponderous. But now, when you put it into sport mode, it definitely sharpens everything up and feels like you would expect a BMW to feel like. That's really nice. Previously, when you put the X7 into sport mode, you really didn't feel much of a difference. So I'm really liking the fact I just hit one button and I've got the BMW that I was expecting. What I also like is how supple this suspension feels. Now remember, we have 23-inch alloy wheels on this vehicle. That's a really big wheel. A lot of times when you put something that big onto a vehicle, you really are affecting the dynamics. It feels sort of rough over potholes or things like that. Not so here. It feels like BMW took that into account when they tuned the suspension, so you get the best of both worlds. You get these really nice looking wheels, really big, but also a really comfortable ride. So that's a really nice feature that I'm appreciating. And in terms of power, that 40 horsepower bump over the earlier version of the X7 is definitely well received here. 375 total horsepower feels great. This car will do 0 to 60 in 5.6 seconds. Now that's not a lightning lap, that's not going to blow anyone's doors off, but overall this engine and powertrain are certainly enough to handle a vehicle of this size. Don't think you need to step up to that twin turbo V8 to get the meaningful power. Although I will say that is an excellent engine, so I won't begrudge you if you do spend the extra coin there. In terms of visibility, it's good in this X7, but not great. These A pillars right here in front of me are kind of thick, and then the B pillar, the ones over my shoulder, feel really thick. So when you're backing out of maybe a driveway, or when you're looking over your shoulder to change lanes on the freeway, you definitely feel like you've got to look extra hard. That gets a little frustrating. And then out the back, the rear window is actually perfectly fine in terms of size, but it's the rear seats themselves that sit up kind of high and eat into your visibility area, so that gets a little annoying. When it comes to competition, the X7 is up against some industry heavyweights. Those include the Mercedes-Benz GLS, the Cadillac Escalade, the Lincoln Navigator, the Jeep Grand Wagoneer, and maybe even the Lexus LX. Of all those competitors, the Mercedes-Benz GLS is probably the closest to this X7. They're both unibody platforms, they're both German, they have really great driving dynamics, they're similar sizes. If I had to choose the more luxurious version, I'd go with the GLS, whereas this BMW is a little more tech-focused and has a little better driving dynamics. The Cadillac Escalade and the Lincoln Navigator, those are built on truck platforms, so they're not going to be as refined as this X7, but they're also going to have more interior space, and they're also going to offer bigger engines. In terms of safety, all X7s come standard with forward collision warnings, automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring with rear cross-traffic alerts, and lane departure warnings. All right, folks, there you have it, our review of the 2023 BMW X7. Pros, well, we love the new powertrain. It's more efficient and more powerful than before, and it's great to drive on the road. We also really like the quiet and luxury feel of this SUV. Cons, well, the front end look may not be for everybody, and we're not sure we like it more than the earlier X7. Plus, the seating configurations inside can be frustrating and slow to use. And finally, the interior space is down versus some of its rivals. So for reviews or listings of this X7 or anything else you're shopping for, new or used, be sure to check out CarGurus.com. And if you have a car to sell, you can do 100% of that online with CarGurus' Sell My Car feature. You just submit a few details about your vehicle and you'll get offers from our network of thousands of dealers nationwide. And if you like the offer, you get paid and a truck comes to you to pick up your vehicle. Finally, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to this channel so you can get alerts on all of our future updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you out there.